Okay. Katrina, you're on.
Hi, sorry, I was just trying to get back in. Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you all. Just a few quick things. We're accepting applications for the beautification grant right now. They're due April 2nd, so you'll want to get those in. We don't have any applicants so far. The Easter eggs are out for the business discovery Easter egg hunt here in Selah. The clues are being posted on social media. The entry forms are on social media. And you can also pick up an entry form at Grocery Outlet. They're printing those out if someone doesn't have a means to print. And those are due April 2nd as well. And then our spring cleanup day is going to be a slightly different day. It's traditionally, it would be May 8th. Would be the weekend before community days, but with no community days happening, and we didn't want to compete with Mother's Day, we're going to do that on May 15th. And I will be extending invitations to police, fire, to all the council members, mayor, Administrator Wayman, all the city, everyone, to just come on out and join us so we can kind of clean up city, maybe work on some projects that we all would like to see done, just so that everything is looking great. So are there any other questions? Great, thanks for your time, everyone.
Thank you, Katrina. Cliff, were you raising your hand with a question?
Yeah, I wanted, does Katrina leave yet?
I'm here.
I know that we're going to hear about it a few more times between now and May 15th. But do we know yet where we're going to meet and times and those kinds of things? And
I am working on getting those details all together. I'm just putting a bug in everybody's ear so they can save the date for us.
I'll be back.
Anyone else?
I'll make sure to send directly to council with the exact details. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Katrina. Getting to know our businesses, we have none. Communications, Mr. Case.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We're presently conducting the regular meeting portion of today's session. State law does not require a non-charter code city such as the city of Selah to allot time for public comment during a regular meeting between the mayor and city council. Historically, the city has chosen to allot time for public comment during its regular meetings, subject to a maximum of 2 minutes per commenter and common sense standards of decorum. Recently, those standards of decorum have been increasingly infringed. Those wishing to offer public comments during a regular meeting must comply with the following process and standards. Each commenter must state his or her full name and whether he or she is a registered voter residing within the city limits of Selah. Each commenter is limited to one comment and a maximum duration of 2 minutes per regular meeting. A maximum of 30 minutes per regular meeting will be allotted for all public comments. Comments must be constructive and respectful. No profanity, insults, defamation, or direct or implied personal attacks will be allowed. Criticism of city policy is allowed, but personal criticism of any individual is not allowed. The public comment process is not a question and answer process. Also, each commenter should speak solely for himself or herself rather than purporting to speak on behalf of others, repeating verbatim or nearly verbatim what another commenter has said, or repeating what a written document says. In-person comments will be heard from the podium in the order offered by commenters, and during the COVID shutdown, written comments will be read aloud in the order received by city staff, and telephonic comments may also be heard. The mayor may cut off any in-person or telephonic comment that he or she deems inappropriate, and city staff at the direction of the mayor may disallow or modify any written comment that is deemed inappropriate. These standards are subject to revision. Those who infringe the applicable standards may be barred from offering public comment during future regular meetings. Public comment during regular meetings is not the exclusive method to communicate with the mayor or city council on any topic. People may send emails or letters, leave voicemails, or request in-person meetings to or with the mayor or any member or members of the city council. The mayor and each member of the city council has personal discretion over how and when he or she might respond to emails, letters, voicemails, and requests for in-person meetings.
Thank you, Rob. Monica?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, we had 3 comments submitted, which I will read aloud. The first one is from Mindy Clark of Selah. I would like to thank City Councilwoman Suzanne Vargas for her honesty, integrity, and her push for accountability from city staff, the mayor, and other council members. During her short term of being a city council member, she has represented Selah residents well. I would also like to thank City Councilman Russ Carlson for his vigilance, integrity, and also his push for accountability from city staff, the mayor, and other council members. They both exhibit a willingness to listen to Selah residents and work to make Selah a better place. Thank you. From Daniel Callahan of Selah. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Suzanne Vargas for her service to our community. She has frequently shown a dedication to transparent local government. Her scrutiny toward the practices of our city council and her careful attention to each vote are greatly appreciated by the people of Selah. She has also been extremely responsive to concerned citizens and represents our town well. Thank you, Councilwoman. From Jason Brink of Selah. We have reached the point of no return in this quest for administrative incompetence. You have all behaved so poorly that our tiny town has made national news multiple times in recent months. It is time for across-the-board resignations and a return to true representation of the constituents of this city. Pray for forgiveness and show the citizens some humility. Those are all the comments received.
Thank you, Monica. Proclamations and announcements. We have none. Consent agenda.
Excuse me,
All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion without discussion. Should any council member request that any item on the consent agenda be considered separately, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and become a part of the regular agenda.
excuse me if I may interject. I also, for the record, want to clarify that we have no written comments that were submitted. I2.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Cliff?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
Second, Russ? It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as printed. All those in favor, raise your hand. For the record, it's unanimous. Monica, read the consent agenda.
Approval of minutes, February 23, 2021 council meeting. Approval of claims and payroll. Resolution N1, resolution authorizing the mayor pro tempore to sign an interlocal agency agreement between the city of Selah and Yakima County for on-call services on federally funded projects. Resolution N2, resolution authorizing the mayor pro tempore to sign a contract with the Yakima Valley Conference of Governments for technical assistance services to be provided during the calendar year of 2021. And Ordinance 01, ordinance amending the 2021 budget for litigation settlement.
Thank you. Public hearings, we have none. General business, new business, we have none. Old business, we have none. Resolutions and ordinances were handled under the consent agenda. We move to public appearances, we have none. Reports and announcements. For departments, Jeff Peters.
Thank you, council members and Mr. Mayor. The planning department, I don't have much to indicate to you. We're working on a number of different applications, business licenses, and building permits. The building industry is picking up now that it's spring. So we've just hired a replacement for our planning specialist. So she's this is her second day on the job. Her name is Mackenzie Hoff. as far as new items, we are going to be, the Planning Commission is going to be considering a short plat application by David Van Alstine. And as of that will be next Tuesday's Planning Commission meeting at 5:30. All of the information for that short plat is provided on the City of Selah's Planning Commission webpage, as well as the Zoom link. So any members of the public who did not get a direct notice of the public hearing can go to that webpage and then join the Zoom meeting if they so desire. Other than that, I don't have any further report.
Any
Jeff,
questions?
could you touch on the sign ordinance, the plan of action we've got for that, please?
Yes. Mr. Case is working on a revision to our sign ordinance to address all of those constitutional issues that have come up over the years with regard to how cities regulate commercial signage from free speech type signage, and also dealing with the signs in the public right of way, for lack of a better way to describe it. At this point in time, once we receive that draft from Mr. Case, we will set up a Planning Commission study session that will likely take place at the end of this month. And then that will be followed by a public hearing, or actually, excuse me, environmental review on the proposal. And then we will schedule a public hearing with the Planning Commission to go over those sign changes, where the Planning Commission will then give you a recommendation on those suggested changes, where we will have the public hearing before City Council in the month of end of April to start of May.
Yes, I will offer a few comments here too. First, I want to thank Mr. Peters for his continued good work. He's taken the lead on this, and now I'm playing follow-up and putting my own touches on it. The changes to the sign code will be substantial and rather comprehensive, but I want to tell existing business owners to rest easy in the sense that they will be grandfathered in for their current signage that's already lawful. So most of these changes are going to be future looking. We're not going to be trying to further restrict or take down anyone's existing lawful sign. And the changes are going to be in part focused on the pre-existing constitutional problems that part of our code has. But as I said, the changes will also be more comprehensive than that, because it's going to make sense to do multiple things at once.
Thank you. Are there any other staff online? No?
Roger, we consolidated some of them. I'll bring up some of the stuff on my time.
Okay. Kevin?
No report.
Jackie?
No report.
Suzanne?
I have no report.
Cliff?
Attended the school board meeting on Zoom a couple of weeks ago. They are going to be putting the maintenance and operation budget or levy back on the ballot in April. And if I had a calendar in front of me, I'd tell you what the April election day is, but I don't remember the exact date, but it's the April election day. One of the other things that I thought was interesting in their report about reopening schools, and I don't have my notes in front of me from that meeting either, but it was something like 13% of the students in the state of Washington are attending in-person classrooms, and 35, I think it was 35%. It was a substantial portion of those students were in the Yakima Valley. And so as much as we feel that we're still shut down, that we're pushing ahead as quickly as possible to get things back to normal. That's all I have.
Mike,
Did you want me to cover the police committee, police building committee, or are you going to cover that, Roger?
okay,
Are you covering that?
you can if you like.
Oh, I didn't know if, since you were in the important position there, if you want somebody else to do it. With the police building committee, we met several times last week and toured 3 different facilities through one in Ellensburg, or the police department in Ellensburg, police department in Union Gap, and Pasco Police Department. So we're still working on reviewing what the needs are and putting everything together. Chief Chrisman joined us, and in all 3 of the locations, and so it was very informative, and we'll be getting. There was some documentation that went out for the architect, and so that's where we're at today. We're still working on it and continuing to meet. Other than that, I have no report.
Russ?
The SDA met yesterday. They discussed the facade grants. Decisions were made then, and they won't release those until they've contacted each of the applicants directly and received a letter of acceptance from them. But that is moving forward. And as Katrina said, they're now accepting the application for the beautification grant, which is some additional funds, slightly different than the facade improvement grant, but still along those same lines. So they're accepting those applications. If you know anybody interested, please send them over. That's all I have.
Thank you. Rob?
Thank you. I have no public report.
Okay, Don?
Just have a few things tonight. One thing about the attorney and the public works director and I have been working on is getting better conditions for the lease for our cell towers. We have a couple of them, specifically the one on the top of West Goodlander. We have been discussing with an outfit out of Pittsburgh a new offer, an offer to take over the lease of the tower in 2027, or the privilege of being able to take it over. And we're discussing the remuneration the city might receive as a result of guaranteeing them that lease in 2027. Still in the draft phase of the contracts, but I think that by early April, if not late March, we should have something that we can present to the council for your review and consideration to help us generate a few more dollars of income each year for our water department, because it sits on water department property, and any income that we would generate out of that cell tower would go to the water department. And interesting that this is appeared to be a trend that the owners of the actual cell towers are looking at that as very valuable property, or ability to hang different devices off of for different companies, like all of the cell companies, the different cell companies that you might see as an option you'll see hanging off of that particular tower. So it's real estate. There's a lot of competition for it. So we like US Cellular or any other company like that offers that option. Anyway, so we're working on it. Also, the well 6. For those of you who drive up and down Spires, you might have seen some work going on at our well house at well 6. We're revamping or refurbishing the pump there. It's a pretty expensive proposition. We pulled it out, and it looks like we're going to probably have more work to do on that pump than we thought. And the project will probably come in about $10,000 above and beyond what we expected. So you'll be seeing an adjustment for that. We are contemplating sidewalk work, an extensive amount of sidewalk work that is not in your budget that you considered. We've sent a task order over to HLA, and we're looking at sidewalks within a quarter mile of our bus stops, because we'll be using a significant amount of money from our transit fund for sidewalk improvement, sidewalk repair, as well as crack sealing on our roads that are within a quarter of a mile of our bus stops. So we'll be examining those bus stops and the sidewalks that are within a quarter mile and the streets that are within a quarter mile, and use some of those funds, which we are allowed to do some street and sidewalk repairs and replacements. So we're looking forward to that task order from HLA. Hopefully that we can get as many feet of sidewalk as possible out of that plan. We are opening up our parks. We are, with regard to our public works support, all of our restrooms, the water is on in all of our restrooms. We're going to start turning the water on in our parks and getting into the spring season. So that'll be going on. A lot of sweeping, a lot of sidewalk cleaning is going to be going on to recover from the winter work that was done on the streets. Also, our north tennis courts, if any of you play tennis or have been going down to Wixon Park to look at what's going on there, you'll notice that our north tennis courts don't have nets and they're closed, they're locked. This is an ongoing issue with the contractor that we paid to come in and do the repairs on our court. He did do them and they failed. And he's going to be needing to come back and do those and redo those repairs, but he cannot do those until we have 3 nights in a row of 60 degrees ambient temperature over the evening. So it's going to have to warm up before we can get that work done. I know it's disappointing to the school district because the tennis classes and the tennis team wanted to get going on that, but we just couldn't put them on that court before the work was accepted by us. We haven't paid a dime on it yet. We're not going to pay anything on this until this is done correctly. That's about it, Roger, that I can remember off the top of my head.
Thank you. The only thing that I have is to reiterate the police department Law and Justice Center combination to be proposed anyway for design work. That we got some very good information by touring the other 3 police stations in between Cliff and Mike and Chief Chrisman and myself. We're putting together a report that we can utilize to assist the architect that we might choose, or those that are bidding that would assist them in developing something that we think would be pleasing for the whole community. So we're working towards that, and we'll go forward. Yes, Don.
I'm sorry, Roger, I had to save around. Chief Chrisman wasn't on the call, so I'll cover for him on this. We have a big change down at the police department, personnel change. Eric Steen is retiring off of the police left system, and he is moving to another department in the city. He's going to be working at the wastewater treatment plant starting next Monday. or this coming Monday. So he'll be transitioning from the PD over to the wastewater treatment plant, working with Eric Newmeyer. Chief Chrisman is looking at examining how he'll replace Mr. Steen. It looks like we'll be going with a lieutenant instead of a deputy chief. He's still examining that, but I think that's where we're going. As far as hires for the open positions, we've got viable candidates for that, and we're in the final stages of getting them approved and examined and approved. So that's all moving along well at the PD.
Okay, thank you. Just in support of a possible change there, I would make note that the 3 police departments we toured, Pasco, which is very much larger than we are, and Ellensburg slightly larger, and Union Gap about the same size. All of their command structures are without a deputy chief, but lieutenants and captains. So just as information for fellow council members, that's a pretty standard structure, is different than what we had. The last thing I want to remind everyone of, I've personally been concerned about formatting of some of our meetings and how we conduct ourselves as a council, and that, you know, we say we run by Robert's Rules of Order, and yet we are lacking in quite a few areas of Robert's Rules of Order. So we are contracting, the mayor's already contracted for some training in the form of a study session training on April 20th. It's a Tuesday from 5:30 to 7:30. Monica, myself, and the mayor have been through this same training over a year ago, and I highly recommend it. It's extremely useful in covering easy use of Robert's Rules of Order for council meetings and how we conduct business. So please put that on your calendar. And for the public, the meeting will be open to the public for observation only for the public. But the council will have interactive work, and you'll receive a handbook to go through on that also for the course. It's conducted by Ann McFarland, who's been with AWC for a long time now. She's a highly decorated parliamentarian specializing in civic groups and councils. So please put that on your calendar. Again, April 20th, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. So that's all I have. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Jackie, and a second by Michael. All those in favor, raise your hand. Kevin's against it. All those opposed? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you for your support for my first time as Mayor Pro Tem.